Hello everybody, welcome to Founders and Creators. Today on our show we have Cameron, aka NationSquid. He's a YouTube creator who creates documentary-style videos on mystery, world history, technology, and more. His channel, NationSquid, has 200,000 subscribers and a massive 27 million channel views. Cameron, welcome to the show. How's it going today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited. Let's just I want to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, this is your official face reveal. So, one, what made you decide to finally do that? And two, how does it feel to finally be free?
Well, I guess, man, I mean, like it was a lot of thinking to make this decision, but honestly, it feels really good. Just to for the longest time, I kind of felt like I was like talking at my audience rather than like to my audience, and I don't know. I feel like this kind of presentation is probably going to establish a better connection with them, and it took a lot of thinking because there was for the longest time I didn't show my face on YouTube at all, and so this was a very like thoughtful decision, but honestly, I'm really glad I did it because yeah, because as you said, like it just makes me feel a lot more free with everything. I feel like I can be more of myself, rather than just like putting on like a persona, So I think it's great, and you know, there were a lot of things to think about with it too. Someone actually made a really good point in my comment section, like what's that, 3 months ago. They're like, once you show your face, your appearance, that's entertainment for people, and that is a scary thought for people who haven't shown their face before on a platform but have like grown a following. So like that, there are things that I have to think about with that and be careful. But yeah, I think it was ultimately the right decision. People had to know who I am eventually, so yeah, I figured why not.
No, I think you made the right choice, and I think you hit it home pretty well because it is one of those things where it's almost like a band-aid. You kind of have to like rip it off, and then once
Yeah.
it's done, it's done. But I do agree. I think there is a lot of little pressure on it, like once you put yourself out there, but you know once you get through it, it's totally okay. I've been putting my face all over the internet for a while now, so I'm sure you'll be
Yeah,
just fine. Um,
absolutely.
so now I want to hear your story, obviously. How did you get started on YouTube? Explain that whole thing.
Gosh, so I started on YouTube back in late 2008. So it's like several internet centuries ago, right? So yeah, but so what really all started this was I have an older brother, and at that time he was making like content too, and it was just ridiculous, like comedy content from like the photo booth app on his computer or whatever. But I watched him doing it, and I thought he had a really good sense of humor, and I was like, and I saw that he was getting like, somewhat of traffic on his channel. And I was like, wow, like I want to do that too. So I just, I started navigating the website to just, I guess, see what kind of videos were on there. And it, basically had everything, especially back then because, internet was kind of the Wild West, like there was less regulation. You could really find anything on YouTube at that time.
So true.
Movies, it was quite incredible. So but on top of that, it was also like, it was a perfect place for like people to just express their creativity and really like be themselves. And, that sounds cliche, but like that's really an important like outlet for a lot of people. And I saw myself doing that too, because even before like YouTube was a thing, I was, what I would do is I would just record off like my camcorder and I would just like plug it into my TV, with those like
Oh yeah.
red and white beagles or whatever. Like, yeah, and so that would be my version of like making a movie, like because it was on the screen actually, and like that was really cool. But now YouTube, it's like everyone around the world could see it, so like I wanted that too. So I created my own account and I started doing all of these like ridiculous like comedy like sketches that probably weren't funny now, but in retrospect, but it was a lot of fun to make, and it's some great memories that I have. Yeah, and a ridiculous inspiration of mine at that time was Fred, the channel Fred. He was like one of the
Oh
first
yeah.
like whatever. But there's that, and gosh, yeah, there was just so many other channels that I thought were so creative with like how they presented their content, and yeah, I wanted in on it, and so that was like my first channel, and then naturally, I think as I got older or whatever, I kind of stopped working on that channel, and then around 2013, I want to say, I created NationSquid, and yeah, that's where I was. So.
Nice. Well, I do have to ask about that name. Is there a secret story? I'm sure all your fans want to know. Is there a secret reason you named at NationSquid, or?
Actually, yeah, there actually is kind of an interesting story. Well, I guess it depends on how interesting you think it is. But so, funny story actually. So I guess another inspiration channel, I guess, that I didn't list under here, and this could sound so ridiculous because it's so different from the content I'm making now. But there was a channel called Waffle Pone from like 2010 to 2011. Like they would do these like staged freak out videos. I don't know if you remember those, but
Yeah, I do.
yeah. So, and what was funny was my brother and I thought of doing something kind of similar, of like doing these stage freak out videos where I would be the guy like freaking out and stuff, and like we would just do videos every week of like ridiculous situations, like basically like another comedy skit. And I thought, like, okay, this channel's called Waffle Pone. What's another ridiculous name for a YouTube channel? Oh, NationSquid. That's just two words that came to my mind at that time, and I just, hey, the username was available, so why not? So I put it in, and we tried that whole idea for a little bit. It didn't work out, obviously. So we took those videos down, and yeah, a year later, I just started. I got bored one day, and I just started, uploading like creepypasta videos, and that's where it took off. So,
Well, yeah, that's
yeah.
a great segue into, kind of, the structure of your channel, and how this is formulated. But, I noticed that you started off your journey making the true crime horror themed YouTube videos. And then since then, you've dived more into history and like tech video essays. Is there any particular reason you adjusted your niche?
Money's a big one. I just gotta be real with you. Money's a big. Well, I would say it's a little more. That's a bit of a superficial answer. It's a little more detailed than that. But like, you know, true crime was always something, or I guess true crime and just mystery in general. That's always something I've been quite interested in. I was one of those people that was up late at night researching that kind of stuff, and and I was like, there was a point where I was researching so much of it where it's like, I have all this information that most people online might not have altogether. So why not, create my own, like, video on it, or medium where people can, get that information. And that was basically what I did. I was basically at that time, like, indirectly doing all of this research just for entertainment purposes. And then, before I knew it, I had all this information, just in my head that I could share with people. And I just thought, okay, perfect. So I started making videos on that. With the YouTube channel before that, I had a little bit of editing experience anyway. So that was like a big advantage for me. So I did that. But that's for the true crime stuff. To answer your question, why I got into like the tech stuff, money was a big factor. But I grew up also, being so fascinated with technology too. I was the computer guy of my family for the longest time, even at a really young age. So I always learned. I loved learning about computers. Just I was really excited, like when the iPad first came out, trying to learn all about that. How the functionality of that works. I was really into like the tech aspect, I guess. And I guess from all of that, I just gathered all of these stories that I just learned like throughout my life, and they just became video topics on the channel. So.
Oh, that's
and,
fascinating. No, I just want to say specifically, I mean, because you have a type of, I want to say tone almost, or like a theme that I've like picked up on with at least like the last year, and you've kind of like adjusted almost everything. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I did notice there's like different voices almost, like you had a different voice. Is that was there a different thing that you did there, or was I going crazy, or
It was a different thing that I did there? And what happened was, so I started off as a horror channel, obviously, and there was another pretty big horror channel at that time. I think they're still around, but I guess especially at that time that a lot of people were watching was called Tat's Top Videos. And I remember they did like top 10 creepypasta videos or whatever. And I remember that was actually inspiration for the second part of like the NationSquid channel or whatever. So I thought like, hey, I want to like emulate that as much as I could. So like I started deepening the voice because the narrator had a really deep voice at the time. And people thought that the deeper voice was so creepy. And I was like, hey, I could work with this, because it really adds to the atmosphere or whatever. But, as I started branching out into like the technology stuff, it just started getting ridiculous at that point. It's like, what, I'll just, we're talking about technology here, just use my regular voice. And yeah, that was basically the thing.
No, I think that's a good call. I mean, you're a natural in terms of voice, and, even just like projecting and kind of like, the way you talk, it's really easy to just put a bunch of your videos on and just go down a rabbit hole while I'm doing work or, something else. And I was reading some of the comments, and I feel like a lot of people agree with me. They're like, oh yeah, like I started watching and then I just like watched them all, because you have one of those like natural voices, which is,
Thank you.
really nice to have. So, but
Yep.
I wanted to ask you another question about niche changing. So a lot of creators go through a similar experience like you, where they go, into a different direction at some point. Was there anything you wish you did differently when you changed your niche? And is there any advice you could offer for other creators who want to change niches?
So for the first question, honestly, I guess I wouldn't really change anything about how I transitioned the genres, because for me at least, it was pretty seamless. Like, I know I was doing horror content for the longest time, and rather than people not being interested in that, when I changed niches, it actually helped my channel. People were like, "Hey, I'm so happy to see something new." And I think a big reason for that, and I guess this ties into the advice I would give to creators I want to change niches to, is because I basically conditioned my viewers into liking new content. Like I think Pavlov, is that, am I pronouncing it
Yeah,
right?
you're
That's the
you're
term.
right. Yeah, Pavlov
So
and the dog.
yeah, so basically Pavloving like your viewers. So like I started out doing these like top 10 spooky videos, and then a little bit after that, I made a video that wasn't a top 10 video, but and it was a little bit more historical too. It was a video on the day the music died, which was that was the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Davey
Hmm.
Richardson, yeah, all those people. And it was a very historical event, but there was also some mystery that was kind of involved in it too. So like it was a transitioning point, kind of from like these top 10 spooky videos to like something kind of creepy but more historical. And it's not even like a list video. It's like just a basic editorial, like 15-minute video or whatever. And people liked that, and they were like, okay, this is like a slight adjustment. It's pretty cool. And I started doing videos similar to that for like, I'll say like a year or whatever. And eventually I just decided to do a computer virus video one day, because hey, what's an underlying theme of computer viruses that's kind of creepy? Mass destruction. Who created it? There's a little bit of mystery there. So like that's another transitioning point for that. And people were like excited to see that. And then before you know it, I'm talking about like Windows 8 and like all these things.
Well,
It was a very gradient like transition. So I guess my advice would be for creators to do that too. So.
wow. No, that's fascinating. You know what? I didn't even think about that because really, looking out and looking in and then like having you explain it makes so much more sense because when I saw it, I was like, oh, like he was doing mystery, horror. But then I noticed the themes, like you said, kind of transitions in your like bonsai buddy video. Like it was almost like it was like spooky and like there was some like drama in it. And I think that that's a really great way to convert your audience into one niche to another without them even knowing about it. And that's really fascinating. I never really thought of it like that. Wow.
Yeah, and I
Jeez.
guess like yeah, I guess what's funny is that I wasn't even aware that I was doing that on some of the videos. Like people were like, "This video is so scary," and I was like, "I didn't mean to make it scary. I think I'm just so used to the horror content, it just like comes out." But I'll take it if that's working. Why not? So
Oh, exactly. One thing I did want to talk to you about is the art of storytelling. Like, while we're talking about this, because it's pretty on point, but all of your videos do a really fantastic job capturing the audience's attention with some unique way to tell a story. So, what does storytelling mean to you, and how do you develop your stories?
So, I mean, I would say really, storytelling is everything to me. I mean, like, it's a really cliche like phrase that you learn in English class, but it totally applies to real life. It's like everyone has a story to tell, and I feel like I live by that sometimes, because it's like, uh, you see all these people like out in public, and they all have their own like lifetimes that you don't know about, and like you see someone walk by you at the store and you never see that person again, but that person has their own life, that's 80 years worth of just like information. And it's just incredible to think about that. And it's like, if you have a story, why not learn how to tell it in the best way possible? And I think what really helped me with that was funnily enough, my English teacher back in high school was that like she was a very I guess perfectionist kind of like writer, like oh, you have to do it this way, or like structure it in this format. And at the time kids aren't exactly like interested in learning, but I
Right.
think long term the way she taught me how to write really really impacted me in a lot of ways, because it's basically what I do for a living now. And really, I guess the one main takeaway for good storytelling is I call it the so what of like the writing. So like, why are you writing about what you're talking about? It's like, I make a computer virus video. Okay, the reason is I want to make a good YouTube video, but like sometimes that's not good enough. There needs to be an actual reason, a so what for why you're talking about that actually gives value to the viewer too. So I guess an example would be, oh, this computer virus was very destructive, and this was back when the internet was still new, and this is how we've learned since then, and this is how we've avoided those mistakes. So there's like a so what there. That's the very similar thing that I use for a lot of those videos, and kind of just tailor it for each topic, but it does work. So yeah.
No, no, it definitely works. Well, then I guess the follow up to that is, I guess, how do you find those so what moments, or those so what things that you're putting in your scripts and things like that? Because I'm sure that that's really hard for a lot of people. Maybe it's come naturally to you, but for a lot of screenwriters and script writers, it is difficult to find that. So what do you do, to really find that, or maybe, get that process down?
So actually, it's pretty interesting, because it's sometimes really, really hard. And like, sometimes I can go days without knowing like the so what of my video. I'm like, okay, this is a really great video topic, but I don't know why I'm talking about it. And like, I end up on this big writer's block. Sometimes it comes like that, just instant. But for this, it's just like, for other examples, it's like, it can take a really long time, and you're at a point where you're just like at a fork in the road, or like a dead end, and you're just like, what do I do next? So what helps me with that, funnily enough, because it might not seem very productive, is I'll just walk around at night and listen to music. Just in a that just gets me in a headspace where like I'm thinking very imaginatively, and the tone of the music will affect my mood and like affect how I'm thinking, and that brings in like this rush of like new ideas and thoughts, and a lot of that helps me find those solutions or find those answers. And another thing is like doing the same thing, listening to music, and just like going to a coffee shop and just working there, because it's just a new environment, and it just puts you in the right space to get work done. So.
Yes, I do that one. The new environment technique is like one of my favorites. It's like, if I'm going through one of those phases where I'm like, I'm going like hitting my head against the wall, like I try and go somewhere and clear my head. And I agree, like that's such a fantastic strategy. So one more question on the topic of storytelling. Who are 3 people who may have influenced you, or maybe the most influential people in your career, tone, style? Because you have a very distinct version of that. Oh no, you're good. You have a very distinct version of that. So I'm curious with who's been influencing you in your life.
So, in a funny way, because they aren't exactly, this isn't one person, but a group of people, and they aren't exactly in the same, field of like work that I'm in, but the Beatles, they just had such a profound impact on my life. I live and breathe the Beatles, and it's a big reason for that. It's not just for the music, but also the storytelling in kind of a weird way. The first time I listened to a Sgt. Pepper's, that's widely considered to be the first concept album. It's an album that tells a story. It's not just a collection of songs. It actually tells a coherent story with like a theme. And, there's probably some primitive examples from before that, but that was really the album that changed everything in that area. And I was, what's really great about that is that like you really can tell a story with anything, even if it's not just written down on a piece of paper or like written in a book. You can tell it with music. If you can tell it with music, you can tell it with just about any form of art. And I guess that translated into me wanting to do it with like YouTube content instead. Tell a story, even if it's with multiple videos that might maybe have all have like an underlying theme. So I guess that's a big one. The second one is much more in the technological area, is Steve Jobs. He might not have invented everything that he put forward, but I just think his way of thinking, and I guess just his innovative approach really helped Apple go in like the right direction, and also like what he did for Pixar and Next Computer and all of those things. And I just really like that mindset of just always trying to learn something new and go just go forward, and even learning from your mistakes, or trying to think of something that people haven't done before. And I guess that's something I apply to my journey on YouTube. And The third one, probably the one that resonates with me the most in terms of what I do, is probably Robert Zemeckis. He's one of my favorite directors of all time, and there's a big reason for that is the storytelling. He doesn't just tell the story; he tells it in a very whimsical like way. Even if the story is like maybe like a darker genre or something, he somehow manages to tell it in a whimsical way. It really makes you feel like a kid again when you're watching this movie, regardless of what the topic is. And that is something that that brings a lot of emotion to people, and that's something that brings a lot of emotion to me, and that really gets me wanting to be creative. So.
No, that's wow. Those are three fantastic answers and three fantastic people, or groups of people, I should say, with the Beatles. And it's fascinating that you mentioned Steve Jobs, because I get like the Steve Jobs vibe from how you present yourself a lot of times, because he's another one of those people. They have that certain tone and style. I mean, I loved watching his presentations throughout the years on the iPhone, or even I just saw a clip the other day with I think it was the Nano, where he's like finally like a place to put it, that little pocket in your jeans. He's like finally a place to put something in here, and or finally a thing to put your thing in there. And I was like, oh my god, like he just looks at things so differently, and I think that that's a really great way to look at things, like you said, not just from maybe technology, but YouTube or advertising or social media, or anything you're working on, is to really try and think differently. See what I did there? Think differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
no,
no,
those are great answers. Yeah.
yeah, so like I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that I haven't tried to emulate Steve Jobs on my channel or in my everyday life, because I mean, who wouldn't want to be him? Like so. I mean, I remember I took like some Toastmasters classes like a few years ago, and like I just watched tons of Steve Jobs videos, and that was like where I got all my notes from for like doing my public speaking. It was like, do it like Steve Jobs. Like, I'm gonna be here to admit that I try to emulate the Steve Jobs aura sometimes, because it's cool. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
why not?
There's nothing wrong with that. So,
Yeah.
obviously, you reached a massive milestone, hitting 200,000 subscribers, and I believe there's another 6 or 7,000 as we're recording this. But you did that not too long ago. So, what is the biggest difference for you as a content creator now that you've surpassed that milestone?
I mean, I would definitely say, just seeing the growth in a weird way. There's a lot more motivation there when you have such a bigger audience to really, continue going. Because when you only have like a couple, a couple subscribers or whatever, or like maybe even a couple thousand subscribers, depending on the person, they might not feel as motivated to continue doing content. And that was me for a long time, just because, you weren't really entertaining a whole lot of people. And there's actually a quote from, I think it was like Rod Serling or something. Don't quote me on that, but like someone like along the lines asked him like would you still do screenwriting, like it is your hobby, but like it's your passion, would you still do screenwriting if no one was listening? And he said no. And I feel like I can relate to that in some ways, because it's like we all love doing the things that we love to do. We're also human too. We also want to get the rewards of like people paying attention to us too. So definitely the following is a big motivator for like continuing to move forward with the content. So
No, that totally makes sense. And I mean, I feel the same way too. It's like, when you put that video out there and you see the growth, it just is like fuel. It's like, okay, now I want to do the next one. So no, I completely understand. So what is one myth or maybe misconception you'd like to debunk about your channel? Because I notice, again, there's a lot of mystery attached to your channel and your brand. Do you have one in particular?
well, I guess I have a few. Well, I don't sell NFTs. I'll make that very clear. Get that out of the way. Yeah, there's a concern about a month ago. Yes, want to make clear, I never sold any NFTs. Don't really know what those are anyway. From what I know, not a fan anyway. But yeah, just want to get that out of the way. But no, in regards to like actual misconceptions, I guess it's just I'm not really I don't really stick to one genre, because I guess there are some people that and I totally get it too, because it's like it's such a big change. But like there's some people that are like oh, this channel's so different now. What happened? Or like there used to be horror content here. What happened? And I guess the thing I want to make clear is I guess I guess I'm always trying new genres. There are ones that I stick to more than others, like the technology aspect of things, just because of the monetary gain from that. That those things are more popular and they make more money. So I'm gonna naturally stick with those two. But honestly, for me, any topic on the channel is fair game. Like if I find something, even if it's totally out of the realm of what I've ever talked about, if it's something that sits with me for a long time, I'm probably going to make a video on it. So I guess that's one misconception, is that it's not, the channel is not going to be just restricted to one piece of content, or one type of genre. It's going to branch out a lot more. So.
No, that's awesome, and that's really fascinating that you have that. I don't want to say luxury, but it really is. It is an earned, it's an earned thing to have an audience like that, because a lot of people do not have that flexibility. They have to create content that they know that their audience is going to like, and stick with it like all the time. So to have built that audience that's flexible and is just interested in you and the way you storytell, I think that that's really a testament of how well you've done it, and how you've kind of created your channel. So props to you for doing that.
Thank you. It's definitely something I'm still working on, but I like to think that I'm getting there every day. So.
No, definitely. So to shift gears a little bit, I always like to ask these two questions. What is the biggest mistake that you've made in your YouTube career, and what are you most proud of?
All right. All right. Well, the biggest mistake is definitely a really big one, and
Okay.
this is definitely the perfect time to talk about it. In some ways. So, like, back when I was doing the horror content, as you mentioned, I had this mystique aspect to it, and there were times where I took that a little too far. And I guess, yeah, to give an example, I'm not going to go in super great detail. I'm not exactly ready to do that yet, but maybe for another time, I think that'd be good. But
Okay.
yeah. But just to give you like an idea, back when I was doing those top 10 videos, I would do this, what I thought was creative at the time, but, obviously very controversial and, not very ethical. I would, do a top 10 video, but one of those numbers or whatever would be made up. It would be a story that I created, completely fabricated, or I would take a real story and add fabricated elements to it. And the whole point was for the viewer to decide whether it was real or fake, or let them think for themselves. And I would just go radio silent on the whole thing and not say anything. And there were times where I took it way too far, and I did really, really stupid, disrespectful content with that. And so I took it down. I don't want that on my channel anymore. And I'm not going to say that I'm not that person anymore, because I am that person. I'm that person that has since evolved, and is working to be better with that. And because there's nothing I want to do more now than just use my content to do better. And so I'm glad that I guess I'm learning from that, and I'm looking forward to avoiding any mistakes like that in the future. So that is definitely definitely one of my biggest mistakes on the channel, was that. In terms of like one of my biggest accomplishments, it's honestly, it's the connection I've made with my audience. It's I actually got like an email like a couple weeks ago of someone who like bought my shirt and like bought like merch basically, and like wrote a really nice email saying that they were big fans and stuff. And like, going back to the motivation question, there's nothing that motivates me more than just knowing that I'm making such a positive impact on someone in the world with my content. And that's really what keeps me going, is because I don't know, I love the idea of my content doing better for people. So
No, I think that that's a great answer, and I totally agree. I think that's, for a lot of creators, not just you, but a lot of the answers that I've received, especially on this channel, have been about that. It's like the meaningful connection, the comments, or the the emails, or whatever it might be, and just how appreciative a lot of people are. I mean, that's just like priceless. You can't put a price tag on that. So. Well, what are your future goals for the channel then? I mean, it's going so great. What's the next 2, 5, 10 years look like?
So I guess for the channel, what's working right now is working. I wouldn't mind just like I don't know, just continuing with that, or like, I might even want to branch into like a YouTube documentary series, like on like the history of YouTube and talking
Hmm.
about that. I think that might be a lot of fun to do along with like the computer virus videos. Yeah, excuse me, air pocket. But yeah,
You're good.
uh, I think that, and along with like, any horror ideas that come to mind, something for Halloween or like, even Christmas, some like big, or even just not even like a holiday related occasion, just like if a cool, mystery topic comes to mind, I'm probably going to talk about it. Just, yeah, I think that I guess the answer to that is whatever the future has in hold for me in terms of like putting content on YouTube and like whatever I'm excited about in the future. That's what I'm focusing on. But I guess in terms of like really long term outside of YouTube, I'm hoping to actually start this pretty soon. Work on a pilot for a TV show,
Really?
and yeah, I mean, I guess I won't share all the details on that yet, but there is an idea that I have in mind where I'm like, I really want to put this to life, and yeah, that's a really long term goal, I guess, is to do that. So
Well, you've established some pretty big goals, but and I have confidence in you, and I mean, just to
thank you.
see you grow throughout the last, in the small time that we've known each other, it's kind of just proof that if you put your mind to it, you can definitely do it. So I definitely think you could hit those goals,
Thank
and
you.
I'm excited to see it happen. So I guess one last question: if you were to give one piece of advice to a new creator who wants to create a YouTube channel, or maybe just writing or screenwriting anything in 2022, what would it be?
Always have the ambition to learn, because I guess that just applies to life in general, but especially for YouTube is, it's a such a complicated platform, and there's things that are changing about it every day. And when you do your first YouTube video, it's probably gonna flop, and that's okay. That was me. I wasn't an instant like viral success or whatever. So like it took a long time to get there. So when you're in that situation, what you want to do is you want to constantly be learning about okay, what did I do wrong here? What did I do right here? What can I do in this area to improve like my chances of like being watched more? Just always have the drive and ambition to learn, and even when a video was doing well, you still want to sit back and see, okay, what did I do wrong here? What can I avoid in the future? And even sometimes YouTube comments are helpful with that too. I guess, not all hate comments are hate. Some of it is really helpful feedback. And like a lot of that, can actually, really help you in the long run. There have been situations where I'm like, I make a big mistake in a video and my audience knows about it. And it's like, okay, that's something I have to work on in the next video. And it really is such a helpful tool. And I credit a lot of that to getting me where I am today, because, it's just a constant cycle of learning new things. So that's definitely something that any creator should, be doing.
No, I could not agree anymore. That's a perfect answer. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Cameron, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. But before you do go, do you have anything you want me to promote or tell the audience about?
I guess nothing in mind at the moment, but yeah, I mean, I have my channel, so if you want to check me out there, you're more than welcome to, and I'll be making content. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, yep. Everybody check out his channel, NationSquid. There's some fascinating, really, I call them movies because a lot of them are like movies to me. But
Well, thank you.
videos, movies, like everything. So check it out on his channel. And then obviously here, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Founders and Creators. If you like the video, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We will see you guys next time. Bye.